I want to talk about Fox News' Gretchen Carlson now. She's made an amazing number of statements here about the Second Amendment, going back and forth with people on Twitter. And she's come out in favor of banning all assault weapons. And we're seeing this a lot from people on the right now. We're seeing everybody embrace this terror watch list, whether it is Donald Trump or Barack Obama or you name it. People on the left and the right, the NRA, coming in and embracing the terror watch list. The terror watch list, understand, destroyed the Sixth Amendment. It contradicts every aspect of the Sixth Amendment. It takes away all your protections, all the steps that they're supposed to go through that we just lump together and call it due process. I hate to just minimize it to that because people don't even think about all the steps of due process. Being able to know what the charges are against you, being able to answer them in a speedy trial in public, to question the witnesses against you, to have witnesses in your favor that you bring in, to have a defense attorney, all of those things, and then being found guilty before you are punished, not having some kind of a pre-crime punishment given to you before any of those steps happen. And yet we see people on the left and the right now all coming together. From the NRA to Fox News to Barack Obama and his so-called attorney general. And then we've got Gretchen Carlson. And she came out and said she supports the assault weapon ban. She actually put up a poll on her show, a December 2015 poll that showed a majority of people supported assault weapon ban in that particular poll. You know what, Gretchen? I don't really care. One poll does not amend the Constitution, so change it. Change it or obey it. She says, I'm with the majority today, and I'm going to take a stand. Well, you know what? You can get a poll to say anything you want to, Gretchen. And you can cherry pick the polls as much as you want. And one poll doesn't change the Constitution. We have a process for that. And you want to ignore that process. You want to ignore what the Second Amendment says. And you want to not only ignore that, but you want to ignore what the Sixth Amendment says. And we've got a lot of people who are liberals. We've got the LA Times. We've got the Intercept. We've got a lot of people talking about, wait a minute, these watch lists are really dangerous. Anybody that cares about the Constitution, that cares about individual liberty and due process, doesn't want to turn this into some kind of a kangaroo court tyrannical government. Anybody that cares about any of that stuff, that understands anything about that, is really afraid of the watch list. You should be very afraid of the watch list as well. And once they start applying punishments to that watch list, the watch list is bad enough, already has some punishments applied to it, and they're just going to keep expanding this. It'll be guns first, but that's not where it's going to stop. So she says she's with the majority of people. When they confronted her on Twitter, she said this. She said, the fact that you're even using the Second Amendment as an argument against banning assault weapons shows me you're ignorant, says Greta Carlson. Don't you know, she said, that the Second Amendment was written before guns were even invented? See, this is a woman who is either profoundly ignorant about guns, about history, about politics, about the Constitution, and about individual liberty and the principles about it. She's profoundly ignorant of all of those things to the extent this is of somebody in elementary school, or she's lying to people, thinking she can get away with this to control the narrative. She says, when she's talking to Breitbart News, she says at one point, I even asked myself, what was the use of trying to prove why assault rifles are bad to these people who think that the Second Amendment was written when they actually had guns, when they actually used them against their government, when all the muskets were state-of-the-art military weapons, okay? You know, say, oh, these are black powder rifles. Yeah. There's more people dead in cemeteries all over North America killed by black powder rifle than by anything else, folks. And they're very deadly. They shoot a big bullet, and they can kill people left and right. But she says, I don't even know why I should be arguing with these people who don't possess the most fundamental knowledge of history. I felt like I was trying to teach nuclear physics to someone who's illiterate. I would love to have a discussion with Gretchen Carlson on nuclear physics. That would really be a hoot. That would really be a hoot. I'm sure she knows a great deal about that, just like she knows a great deal about history and the Second Amendment. She said, it seemed like every single person that replied to my tweet was under the impression that they were right and I was wrong. You mean because you think that the Second Amendment was written before people had guns, before guns were invented? And you don't understand there were military weapons? Look, you need to understand. Go back and look at your history, Gretchen. As a matter of fact, when they first started instituting the first elements of gun control, and I guess, and that's not counting things like the Jim Crow laws where they took them away from the blacks because they're afraid of them. But when we talked about the Supreme Court coming in with its first decision saying, oh, you can't have a sawed-off shotgun, what was their rationale? Their rationale was a sawed-off shotgun is not a military weapon. Therefore, it's not protected by the Second Amendment. You see how we flipped that around now? Now you can only have weapons that aren't military weapons. And even that was a lie. And they knew that in the 1930s. In the Civil War, you had several different cavalry units that instead of using a sword, used sawed-off shotguns in their cavalry charges. Okay, that's like I said, there's a lot of people dead from black powder and pretty primitive arms. But it was about state-of-the-art military weapons. That's what the militia was about. We were never meant to be protected by a permanent standing army. We never had a permanent standing army until after World War II. We had a permanent officer corps, but we had a militia that was there to protect us. And if it was a real justified war, and people believed that, you didn't need to draft them. You didn't need to hold a gun to their head to get them to sign up to defend their home, to defend the Constitution. And then she goes on to say, Gretchen Carlson says to Breitbart, I mean, I know the education in our country isn't the best in the world. You think? She's Exhibit A, isn't she? I'm wondering if Gretchen Carlson is the mother of Miss South Carolina. I've never seen a more empty-headed blonde in my life than Gretchen Carlson, saying that the Second Amendment was written before guns were even invented. I don't even know how to respond to somebody like that. But of course, she thinks that you're an idiot if you know anything at all, because your knowledge doesn't match hers. So therefore, you must be wrong because she's a highly paid Fox News anchor. So bow down and worship Gretchen Carlson and let them take away your Second Amendment, just like they've taken away your Sixth Amendment.